And so welcome to the MicroGrant Informational, like I said. So the Aggie Green Fund is a student-led initiative and was implemented back in 2011 and grants on-campus funds for environmental improvement. And since 2011, we've given out $2.1 million for over 90 projects so far. And among these projects are most of the Howdy Farm, many of the recycling and landfill containers you see around campus, and a lot of the bike racks. And as far as our micro-grant projects go, we've again done a lot of the recycling containers on the inside of buildings, eco-friendly hand dryers and bathrooms around campus. And in the past couple of years for microgrants, we've also done some small electronics recycling containers for people on campus. And here are just a few of the requirements for our grant programs. Has to directly address environmental improvements on the Texas A&M College Station campus. Unfortunately, off-campus projects are ineligible, and it may not necessarily primarily address research claims or aims and collect data, but your project can collect data. It just can't be the primary reason for funding for your project. And your project needs to have the correct written approval from campus officials. This mainly has to do with the Council for Built Environment, which has to do with any changes to the landscaping of campus. It has to go get approved by this council, and we'll talk about that more later in the presentation. And a few more details within the approvals and grant sections. And your grant should also include education, outreach, and publicity for the Aggie Green Fund. And you will have to regularly report on your progress to the Aggie Green Fund Advisory Committee through our portal on WiseHive, which there will be a link on our website for our WiseHive portal. And of course, there's more information on our website at greenfund.tamu.edu/get-a-grant. And the advisory committee members rate your applications on 11 different areas. So these are concept, a well-written application, the capability of your project team, and evaluations and follow-up, the overall environmental impact and campus impact, student involvement and outreach and publicity plans, budget and cost effectiveness, academic gains, and not all projects necessarily have to meet all of these 11 of these requirements. This is what we judge all the projects on, however. And preference is giving to those projects with strong student involvement or those that demonstrate greatest reduction in the university's environmental impact. And again, there's more information on our website. And as far as microgrants go, we will start accepting applications on a rolling basis. So first come, first serve until we run out of funds on September 14th, which is next week. And applications will either go until our money runs out or until March 1st. And this year we have about $20,000 available for microgrants. And funding decisions are usually made within 30 to 45 days of submitting your application, which is very fast. And as far as eligibility criteria goes for your microgrants, The project must be less than $3,500 and has to be completed within 6 months and must not require the Council for the Built Environment, which basically means that it can't change any of the landscape or any of the buildings on A&M campus. And so this is just because a lot of times the Council for the Built Environment takes a long time to get approval of for your projects, and it usually lasts longer than 6 months. And the point of microgrants is to get a small amount of money into students' hands as fast as possible and to get the projects done as fast as possible so that students can complete them. And here are our major grants. We'll have more information on them available in a couple weeks. We'll have another major grant informational when those applications get closer to opening. So it's a 2-phase application process, which with the grantees being announced in February. And the abstract is the phase 1 of the major grant process. You submit a general idea of your project, budget, and timeline. And then we select some applicants after that phase. And if you're selected after that, you're invited to the phase 2, which is the full application. And it's a more detailed information about your project. And you can begin, once approved after that, you can begin receiving funds.
Sorry, just to interject, for the information tab, did it mean February 2020?
Yes, February 2020.
Well.
Yes, that's a mistake on our part. Sorry.
Okay.
That would actually be February 21.
It would mean
yes,
2021.
2021.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I had to think a little. Okay. Cool.
And then as far as eligibility goes for major grants, the project must be begin implementation in September 15th, 2021 and reach completion by August 31st, 2022. So you have a full school year to complete your major grant upon receiving funding for your project. And if your project needs CBE approval, it must begin implementation after 3 months of receiving approval and be completed within 8 to 18 months of having received CBE approval. And here are just some key dates. So again, our microgrant applications are opening September 14th through March 1st, and our first come, first served basis for our $20,000 that we're giving out this year. And our major grants, we will have detailed informationals on those in a couple weeks, and September 22nd and 23rd. That's a Tuesday and Wednesday again, like we had our microgrant informationals. And we're planning to open those abstract applications on October 2nd. And this is the rest of the timeline for our major grants as well. So full applications will close in February 2021. And there's also an opportunity every year to serve on the Aggie Green Fund Advisory Committee. These applications to serve on our committee usually open around February. And this is Stefan Warren, last year's project analysis chair. He got involved with the Aggie Green Fund through one of his projects that he applied for. He worked with TUFU, which is Texas A&M Urban Farm United, and they built like a greenhouse, and they donate a lot of their produce that they make to the 12th Can. And he says it's a great opportunity to influence sustainable activities on campus. I wanted to get involved to experience the grant approval process. Over the course of my time as chair, I've learned the necessary steps for implementing change in a large university. This position also gives you an exceptional opportunity to interact with faculty who also appreciate sustainability. And feel free to contact us. This is my information, Aggie Green Fund info@tamu.edu. If you have any questions further after this presentation. And I also have Faiza, she's our marketing chair. Her information and email is down below as well. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on our social media, or if you have any other questions, please feel free to look at our website at greenfund.tamu.edu. And you can find us at our handles at TAMU Green Fund. And are there any questions?
I have one question. So let's say you have a project that could fulfill the microgrant specifications and a project that could also fill the major grant qualifications. Could you do both?
Yes, you can submit however many projects you want. There's no limit on how many you or your organization can apply for.
Okay.
I am a staff member and I'm interested in replacing a couple water fountains with bottle filling stations. So I'm wondering, am I allowed to make a submission even though I'm not a student?
Yes.
There are students in the area.
Yeah. All the grants are for students and staff to apply for and to have the approval process and project process for.
Okay,
Yes.
and then the $3,500. If the project is more than that, can it be applied to the project? I haven't put costs together yet. So I was wondering, if it's going to cost me $5,000, is that okay? I know you guys aren't paying the full thing.
We have had projects before. Yes, to answer it. So if your department is willing to pay the other $1,500, the maximum amount that you would be granted would be $3,500. That
Okay.
can work. Yes, and students, faculty, and staff can all apply for these grants.
Okay.
I was just going to also add, sometimes, depending on where you're at, it's obviously faster and easier to get a micro grant. But if you in your building were looking at having multiple stations installed, we sometimes see those come through as major grants where someone has applied for 4 or 5 stations, because that is more than $3,500. So I'm just putting that out there. You're not necessarily limited. It's just, you're going to have access to funds much more quickly through a micro grant than a major grant.
Yeah, so I'm looking at pulling out or replacing 2 water fountains with 2 bottle filling stations. So it's a replacement. So all the plumbing's all there already.
Right. The stations typically are right around $1,500 each, and then it depends on the construction design of your building or the wall in the background, how much the fees are going to be for the installation. So $5,000 is probably more than enough for 2 of those stations, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. And then for something like that, are there recommendations as to a brand? Do you know?
We normally, yes, it's not required, but the typical one funded by the Aggie Green Fund is an LK water bottle filling station with a counter. That one is preferred because it actually shows you number of bottles diverted. So it's an easier measure for us to track to show impact. And that's part of the importance of us being able to report on how we've been able to impact the campus itself. And we have those specifications that we can share. So if you email one of the addresses, if you emailed the information chair, Thomas had that up there a moment ago, we can make sure to respond back and give you the specs for what we typically see.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
We could even give you a sample grant application that someone else has completed that was successful.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yes. How can we get the sample grant application?
Well, if you're thinking about a water station, that's easy. It's easy for us for the projects that we already funded. those are open records, so I'm happy to share those. So I'm not sure what your project is. Were you thinking water stations as well?
No, ma'am, it's something else. But I'm still debating on what the project will be with my team.
Okay. Well, when you have a better idea of what it is, you could always reach out to Thomas and we could see if there's anything that might be similar. Just if you, sometimes I know that it's helpful to look at something that's already been done because it gets your kind of creative juices going. So we're happy to share things. We may or may not have something that is applicable, but we could check.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you. I will do that.
Sorry, Thomas, I didn't mean to take over.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. If there's no more questions, feel free to email me if y'all think of anything else. My information is up on the screen currently, or you could again message us on our social media platforms at TAMU Green Fund, or visit our website for more information as well. So thank you guys for attending our MicroGrant informational. And for more information about our phase and application process for major grants, we will have informationals for those in 2 weeks. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.